I'm back now. Welcome, everyone, to the UFC 218 six-round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, Eddie Mercado. Back after letting Nick fill in. Thanks for. I'm glad he could get like a permission slip and all that, fill in on short notice for you. And
Yeah, that was cool. Good on Mr. Baldwin.
Exactly. I am still just totally jazzed from this UFC 218 card. Like, jazzed enough that I'm using really, really white verbiage. Like,
from the 20s.
Yeah. This card was a firecracker. A firecracker, I tell you.
It was fun, Sherry. It was good. There was a lot of cool finishes, a lot of relevancy, a lot of someone that we hoped was something turned out to be something. We had a bit of deja vu in the main event. I mean, like, deja vu like crazy. And yeah, I mean, we had a couple epic ass wars. So all in all, a pretty good card. Only a few slow downs, but pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, I will say at least, I'm always really happy when you get a huge event like this, and the fights that are supposed to mean something just really feel like they mean something. Cejudo, yeah, maybe he made a better case for TJ Dillashaw than himself tonight, but like, you get the Ngannou Overeem top possible title contender fight, and just Francis Ngannou looking like a title contender. Absolutely.
Looking scary. Like, just looking ridiculously scary. Like, just a monster.
Yeah. And you get Holloway out there, having to face Aldo again and coming up, like, looking good doing it, showing himself out there as a champion, looking confident, just walking through everything Aldo had. And we're going to – I might as well just segue jumping right into that, because I want to talk about that fight, and it's the first thing we're supposed to be talking about. I actually, honestly, I realize there's a lot of deja vu, Aldo getting finished late in the third round, starting to, his gas tank not being able to keep up and all that. But I honestly think this was Jose Aldo fighting a better, smarter fight than he did the first time, and Max Holloway fighting even that much of a better fight. Like, Aldo came out, he used his low kicks. He chopped at Holloway's leg. He tried to pace himself. He still threw like everything with power, but he tried to be patient and pace himself, and he didn't win the early rounds just by overwhelming Holloway with mad blitzes and then fade and have Holloway take over. Holloway actually had to draw the blitz out of him. He had to step in. He had to give up he had to give himself up defensively to Aldo to make Aldo feel like he had to fight, or he could fight and needed to fight that kind of firefight.
But I mean, I don't think that's smart on Aldo's part. I think that's the fight he should have been fighting anyway. It's like, you don't have 5 rounds in you for your style. Go all out for rounds 1 and 2, and just, you're gonna get taken out anyways. Like, might as well, like, screw this whole conservative approach and go fucking put the stamp on this guy.
I mean, there's maybe some lack of self-realization there, lack of clarity of self there, but Aldo spent his whole career fighting 5 rounds. I bet he does think he can fight 5 rounds, and mostly he thought he could fight 5 rounds if he could keep it at the careful pace he kept it at for the first couple rounds.
I just think he should have gone the other way with that. And
that's what I expected. I expected him to reflect on all the success he had in his first fight early, do more of that, and I need to pour it on even harder. But smarter. He fought the smart fight I expected him to fight the first time, and Max Holloway was just like, well, why aren't you fighting stupid, man? Come on, come and hit me. I'm right here. You can hit me all you want. And
Holloway was hot dogging out there. Like, he was stunting. He was looking like he was the champion, and he knew it. And like, no one can touch him. And that's he's tough.
That's scary doing that to Jose Aldo. Like, going out there and just being like, "There's nothing you can do in this fight at all." To me, like,
And Aldo landed some really great shots, some really great leg kicks, some great flurries. Zero effect. Like
Yeah.
zero. Even like when they were trading, like Holloway might have came up short in the exchange, but like it didn't even matter. Like he was still there, and it was like, okay, on to the next exchange. And he just gave Aldo nothing, no kind of hope that he was winning any of the fight.
Yeah, and it's sad because, I mean, arguably, Aldo was up 2 rounds, landing the harder shots in each round. Arguably, he still got out volumed, but he did land the bigger, better shots in each round in their when they exchanged. But it was just, there was zero momentum on his side picking up. Like, any hard shot he landed, he didn't get anything for it.
Nope. And that's why I just think he should have just threw everything all at once and just roll the dice. But, it's easy for me to say. I'm not going out there. But I guess he did what he thought he had to do, and he, that's tough. That's tough for Aldo.
It is. I'm now wondering, like, with 2, back-to-back losses to Max Holloway like that, does Aldo keep fighting as just a contender? Like, as a dude who's not going to get a shot at Max Holloway again, likely, does he now wait and hope that Holloway loses to Frankie Edgar? Or does he, like, how long does he keep fighting as a dude who is just, in Vitor Belfort territory, if that's where he ends up?
That's a really bad place to be.
Yeah, or even like Renan Barão territory, to be more, to be a little kinder than Vitor territory.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's still fights for him. There's top 5 fights for him.
There are. I mean, the Ricardo Lamas fight was a cool fight. A Cub Swanson fight would be a cool fight. But does Aldo exist as just a good action fighter and not a champion,
I guess that might be a mixture of, how many fights he thinks he has left in him.
Yeah.
Plus how much money he has in the bank.
True.
And
he's got some burger joints. Maybe
some burger joints.
Yeah, he's got like he's got at least one burger restaurant in Brazil that apparently is pretty good.
Okay, like a sit-down joint, not like a fast food kind of place.
It might be fast food, actually. I don't know.
Oh, shit. Well, if I'm ever down in Brazil, I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah.
But it's sad seeing people who were, once the elite of the elite kind of start to wither away, and what route are they going to take? Are they because like guys like Uriah Faber, he was down to fight, top 15 guys, people who were outside of title contention, and sometimes it went well, and then he made way for Jimmy Rivera to come in. So maybe that's what it's going to be, is Aldo just passing the torch in maybe one more fight and just retire off of 3 straight losses. I don't know.
Faber had a really risk-averse style, though. That was the thing that made Faber able to, like, just take big fights and, like, keep going, is that he was very obviously like, is this fight not going well for me? Well, I better just step back and just kind of let the fight go then. I'm not going to go out and throw myself into any danger. I'll just take the loss and move on to the next payday. Aldo does not seem like a dude who's going to be out there like, yeah, I'll just take this loss. Like, it's all death or glory for him.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, it's tough, though, because losing back to back, like for real back to back, like your immediate next fight was a rematch that you lost in the exact same way. You're not getting that fight again. Like there's no reason you should be getting that. You can go win 3 in a row, and I don't care. I don't want to see that fight again.
And I mean, the last non-title fight that Jose Aldo had was Cub Swanson in 2009. Like, that's the last time Jose Aldo did not fight for a belt.
That is a long ass time.
Yeah. So, interesting point for Jose Aldo here, man. I mean, I'm really, I don't know what's going to be next for him. I hope it's good things, because I've always liked watching him fight.
I mean, maybe he'll move up to 155 and just take some fights there or something. Like, there's really,
maybe.
I can't see him having too many fights left. Like, you could probably count them on one hand,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's so hard to tell with combat sports, because you say that, and then 5 years later, you're watching the dude out there doing something, and for better or worse. But on the flip side, what do you think of Frankie Edgar's chances against Max Holloway?
You know, Frankie worries me. He's another guy who's like getting past, the point where, or to the point where I'm expecting things to start falling apart completely, in terms of his physicality and whatnot. So, I don't know. I think Max is just at an all-time high right now. His confidence is through the roof, and his command of range was really on point tonight. I mean, he was really staying right outside of Aldo's punches, and I just think he's firing on all cylinders. So I'm definitely going to take Max Holloway in that one. I think he's just unbeatable right now. I mean, he's won 12 straight, right? So I can't pick against Max Holloway.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it'll be the most legit test of Max Holloway's wrestling defense, likely ever. I mean, he hasn't been taken down much, if at all, since his Conor McGregor loss, where he hurt his. He got injured in that. I think McGregor did too, if I'm remembering correctly. But or maybe he didn't. Maybe it was just McGregor that injured his knee in that fight, and I'm forgetting. But Edgar might be the first wrestler he would face, because obviously he's faced Ricardo Lamas and Jeremy Stevens, although Stevens doesn't offensively wrestle that much. First wrestler he's faced who can really have the footwork to track him down and the speed to track him down, where Lamas just ended up match the whole fight. So fascinating. I would have to pick Holloway here just for the streak he's on, but I'm definitely still really intrigued to see that, and I love the put on this fight because it makes him that much more of an A-side fighter that people should be paying attention to.
Yeah, and it's for some reason I feel like Frankie has more losses than he does, but he's only lost to Jose Aldo twice and then Benson Henderson.
In two really debatable decisions.
Yeah, so I mean, I really he doesn't lose. Frankie just doesn't lose, But neither does Max Holloway, which makes that such an intriguing matchup. But I would go with Max in his length. I think he can pick apart Frankie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully Edgar is healed up fast enough that they can make that fight before long. Do an event in Hawaii, get Edgar out there, make it a show. Before that, co-main event, Francis Ngannou, Alistair Overeem. I thought there was a chance that Overeem might make Ngannou look bad for a round before this happened, but he couldn't even do that. Overeem got to the clinch. He was full on WrestleReem mode. You could see he was ready. He just charged right at him. Immediately went for a body lock. It's I'm not trading with this dude. And a guy who just flipped him around and put him on the cage. And suddenly it's you're watching that. It's oh, this is not good.
Yeah, no. It's Alistair was okay, I don't want to knuck with this guy. Let me immediately close the distance. But that didn't work. He got reversed. He finds open space and tries to bomb on Ngannou. But that didn't work either. That only ended up him off balance and Ngannou coming back with this hellacious left hand that, I mean, it was one of the most epic knockouts you'll ever see. I mean, it literally it looked as if Ngannou reached down into hell, flicked Satan in the balls, and then just boom went right for Overeem's chin. It was seriously one of the most brutal one-punch knockouts I've ever seen. And to make matters worse, he dropped a hammer fist on an already unconscious Overeem. And that was brutal. He started seizing up. And Joe Rogan was even it looks like Overeem got electrocuted. And I was holy shit. That was really intense. Really intense knockout. Definitely legitimizes Ngannou as the number one contender. Good grief. It reminded me of Bisping versus Dan Henderson 1 but just a lot worse. Which is a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that Overeem's corner brought a big ass spatula for that fight because,
or a body bag.
Yeah, I mean, even like I felt bad because after the fight ended, part of me is like, Rogan's just got this whole stream of consciousness watching Overeem, and it's like stiff out there, and he's just like, his toes are still curled, his body's just, and it's like, man, stop talking about it. But then he also thinks like, if I were watching that, I would not be able to stop thinking about it. Like, is this man alive?
Yeah, and it's funny too because they didn't show it.
No.
You got Rogan commentating, play-by-playing Alistair Overeem having his seizure or whatever was going on. Cameraman's looking away, and all you're thinking is, I want to see what Rogan's talking about. It's that car wreck effect. But
yeah,
thankfully they didn't show it. I thought that was a classy move.
Yeah, no, they didn't need to show it, and now, Overeem's also, he's going to be asking when this fight is going to happen and what happened in this fight for like the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
he'll just be like,
he thinks he's still in training camp.
Yeah, he'll walk into the gym and it'll be like, hey, so we're getting ready for Francis Ngannou, and the coach will have to be like, no, man, no, we're not.
No, and never again.
Oh man, Ngannou Miocic, damn, that's gonna be a fight.
I cannot believe that Ngannou made Overeem look small.
Yeah.
Overeem look undersized, and I've never said that ever. That's the first time I've ever said that. Yeah. Even against Brock Lesnar, Overeem still. Well, that was Ubereem, but he looked small compared to Ngannou. Ngannou looks like a giant, a freaking Nephilim or something. Like, this dude is like he was chiseled out of granite. Like, he looks the part. He is the part. And I'm picking him to knock out Stipe. Like, I just don't see anybody. He's just too big and athletic. He's just that much more athletic and has enough technique to just hit somebody. And that's all it takes is one hit. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Ngannou, man.
Stipe is a better wrestler even than Overeem. So there's a chance that he can get in there with technique and get takedowns. If it's just trading shots, though, I mean, Stipe is more technical. He's looked sharp lately, but yeah, he still eats shots to land them. And how often can you do that against Francis Ngannou?
Nobody. I mean, if you're not going to get knocked out, then he's going to probably more than likely do enough damage to where the doctor stops the fight, as we saw with Curtis Blades. So.
Yeah, oh man, I can't even think. If Ngannou beats Stipe Miocic, then it's
what a rags to riches story that is.
Yeah, it'll be one hell of a heavyweight who dethrones him too. Because what's the answer at that point? Like,
watch King come back and pull a Randy Couture kind of situation and just pulls out some old school wrestling on him and grind him out. I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah. I'm 100% down for that, and I hope it can happen soon. I hope the UFC can figure out that thing with Stipe soon, get that all settled, get his contract squared away, and get this fight booked, because I need to see it now. Like, I need to see it tomorrow. Ngannou's not hurt. He's fine. The man's fine. Put the fight together.
A minute.
UFC 219.
A minute and 42 seconds. That's all it took.
All right. Before that, Henry Cejudo beat Sergio Pettis. Pettis kind of showed Cejudo that his striking isn't as evolved as Cejudo thought it was. Every time they were out at range, Pettis mostly got the better of him, picked him apart. Showed Cejudo that he still is coming in on straight lines with kind of winging shots, but Pettis had no answer for the wrestling game of Cejudo.
Yeah, Cejudo definitely struggled with the range of Pettis. And I mean, Pettis is polished on the feet. So, that's to be expected. But what bugs me is just the lack of get-ups, the lack of sweeps going on from Pettis. Like, he just spent so much time on his back doing things like locking up a body triangle. Like, dude, what are you doing locking up a body triangle? Like, what part of getting back to your feet or sweeping or submitting involves locking up a body triangle from the bottom of guard. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, they're asking to lose a decision.
I think he was just stalling, trying to get the fight back up because he realized he couldn't shake Cejudo. And to his credit, I mean, Cejudo's arms are small enough that he couldn't do much to Pettis from guard, but he could do just enough, and he figured out enough ways to posture up, scramble, force Pettis to scramble, and get top ride where he could absolutely just work Pettis over for most of the whole fight.
Yeah, Pettis just had zero answers. And I hate seeing that, but it's kind of a Rufus sport sort of thing. Those guys aren't exactly known for getting off their back.
Yeah, they've always there's a lot of very willing guard play from that camp. But unfortunately for Cejudo, as a dude who's lost to Demetrius Johnson before, like, he's the number one contender if Demetrius Johnson refuses to make any other fight, basically, only. You know?
Yeah, and what I think the most impressive thing is the fact that Cejudo held somebody down at flyweight for pretty much 3 rounds straight, like an elite top 5 fighter. That's hard to do.
It is.
That's the most impressive thing about this entire fight for me.
Yeah, control wrestling mostly does not work at flyweight. Dudes are too small, too crafty, too fast, and too able to scramble. And guys are too light to hold people down, usually. But you got enough technical fundamentals, as Cejudo showed, as Demetrius Johnson has showed. You're strong enough with your technical ability, and there are guys who can make it happen. It's just not often.
Well, let me ask you this. Is Cejudo ready for Mighty Mouse?
I think that's the thing this win shows, is that he's not. The amount of trouble he had with Pettis out at range shows me that Demetrius Johnson, like, I mean, I know DJ's not nearly as long as Pettis, but he's got faster footwork. He's more able to cut. He's better at cutting angles, and
he's every bit as tech on the feet for sure.
Yeah, he's every bit as technical, and I think it shows that Cejudo would get picked off and probably would not be able to get that wrestling game going.
Yeah, maybe too soon. Maybe what's Joseph Benavidez doing?
He's really bad. He I think maybe blew out his ACL. I'm trying to remember. He's got a bad injury. He's recovering from something that's going to keep him out for a while.
That's unfortunate.
All right. Before that, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje.
As advertised.
As advertised, although I would say a much easier fight for Eddie Alvarez for a while than I expected. Like, and I say easier fight in that he still got his like mouth and leg broken. I don't know if his leg's actually broken, but he still got absolutely beat to hell. But he never got rocked. Like, he never looked like he was ever close to going out at any point in this fight. He never dropped or looked.
Well, there were moments where it looked like his leg was gonna fall off.
There were moments where it looked like his leg was gonna fall off. He did fall down at one point because it couldn't hold him up anymore.
That was pretty severe damage.
Yeah, but for the first 2 rounds, he really had Gaethje's number a lot. And I was shocked at that, like, just at how consistently technical he was able to stay in just, especially he realized pretty early on that he wasn't landing cleanly to Gaethje's head, that a lot of his punches were hitting him in the forehead, hitting him in the gloves, hitting him in the elbows, and he just switched up to body work, and it shut down all of Gaethje's counter game. All of it. All of Gaethje's ability to rattle off like hard counter uppercuts and hard counter hooks, just totally gone once Alvarez started going to his body.
Those were mean body shots. Like, he was moving to the body, and they were all clean. Like, I don't think Gaethje blocked a single body shot.
No. To Gaethje's credit, as the fight went on, he started picking up his jab, which stopped Alvarez from being able to step inside and hit his body. And then he started ducking down to meet Alvarez at body level. He got rid of a lot of that game. but by the time he did that, he was getting exhausted, and Alvarez was still able to find body shots, and eventually he landed that crushing knee. And man, just a beautiful fight from Alvarez, going through hell to get it.
Typical Eddie Alvarez. I mean,
Yep.
he did what he had to do to get the W. And like you said, his face was broken. He had like this major swelling in the most random place. Like you never see it. It was like his gums were swollen or something.
He probably had like a fractured upper jaw or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy. But what a fight! Like,
Yeah.
It's you expect this sort of dynamite when you see this fight advertised. You know, this is and it lived up to that, and I absolutely love it. It was so epic, and each guy had their moments. Each guy inflicted damage, and there was a definitive finish. So I mean, what more can you ask for? I hope these guys just get a lot of money for this fight because it definitely took a lot of brain cells from each of them.
It did, and I mean, for their sake, I don't ever want the UFC to book this fight again.
Yeah.
But for my sake, can we do it like 2 more times at least? Just put it back together. Throw them back out there.
I feel that way about a lot of each of their fights, really.
Yeah.
They're just so fun to watch, no matter who they're fighting. For the most part. Alvarez's fight with Cowboy Cerrone was a little bit of a stinker, but I understand the logic behind it.
Alvarez has had like 3 or 4, bad fights in a 40-fight career, and there are some people out there who will never let him forget it.
Yeah, he's still one of my all-time favorites. And another point, this fight was between 2 guys who, for the longest time, were must-haves for the UFC, that were fighting in other organizations, and were just 2 guys who just had this reputation of just bringing the lumber. And they finally get in the UFC, and they do exactly that.
Yeah.
I love seeing shit like that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to see that the UFC has not done what I feared they might do, which is waste Justin Gaethje and
make them fight people who are like random people who might get a win over him that are, not such a high stakes bout like Eddie Alvarez. Like
exactly.
Feed him to the wolves now, because it's either now or never.
So awesome fight. For that, it's hard to transition away from it, but before that bout, Tecia Torres beat Michelle Waterson, and this looked a lot like I thought it would, which is mostly that Tecia Torres is just a cleaner, more technical kickboxer than Michelle Waterson.
Basically, in a nutshell, that's what this came down to. She was landing more often, and it almost seemed as if Waterson was landing a lot of phantom strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of things just weren't connecting. It was almost as if they weren't intended to land. They were just part of combinations that she knew Tecia had to respect the distance, and it kind of kept her away.
Yeah.
But nothing to really score or inflict much damage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Waterson, she's got really good, pretty technique on single strikes, but her combination striking has always been really mechanical.
It's soft.
Yeah. And she's gotten lost on it a lot, and Torres took advantage of that a lot in this fight by just stepping in and landing the harder shots, getting in and, landing combinations of hooks that were actually well targeted and, done by slipping Waterson's own punches rather than just kind of walking through stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Waterson had her moment, though. She had a really good second round. She established a top control, and that's where I figured she would have the most success. But after that, she was unable to return to that position. So,
well, it's, she's one of the few women in MMA that has an actually really useful head and arm throw.
Yeah.
The problem with that is it's such a chancy thing to catch. Like, she caught it perfectly on Torres, and then after that, it's like, how are you going to get that again? Like, you can't really set that up. You just have to hope your opponent's momentum carries them perfectly into that well-timed and well-executed throw from you, and it never happened again. So
no, I mean, it's a well-scouted throw also.
Yeah.
but she is really good at getting it.
And for Torres, I mean, this doesn't do much to establish her better as a title contender, unfortunately for her. Like, it's a good win. It keeps her right up in the hunt, but she's kind of in that, like, that place that Ryan Bader was at for a while when he was in the UFC, where it's like, well, if somebody's hurt, you might get a title shot, you know? Like, if everybody's hurt and they just can't put together another fight, then you've got a winning streak going, and you might be you might be next. Her biggest credit is probably that she's 1-1 with Rose Namajunas so far.
Yeah, that is the one thing that could get her into a title fight. But the issue is there are 4 other fights that I would rather see Rose in that are not Tecia Torres.
Yeah,
and, that's the bottom line. Like, period.
She needs to be stopping people because her style doesn't lend itself immediately to, like, people lining up to, oh, I got to see this fight the way that they're going to be lining up for a Rose Namajunas-Joanna Jędrzejczyk rematch, or they're going to line up for Namajunas versus Kowalkiewicz rematch, or Namajunas versus Andrade. You know, like, there are fights there that have legit implications that people are going to be much more eager to see.
Yeah.
Before that bout, Paul Felder beat Charles Oliveira, and man, this is one of those, like, 2 true outcome fights, and I picked the wrong one going in, where it's like Charles Oliveira either instantly takes down Paul Felder and chokes him out, or Paul Felder fights Charles Oliveira off, and Charles Oliveira just mentally crumbles and gets knocked out.
Yeah. I don't feel bad though, because I picked the same one you did. I thought Oliveira was going to come out and get a quick submission because that's what he does.
And Felder's so lax in the clinch. Like, he just gives up control of his body when people clinch with him. And, you do that to Oliveira, and he's going to do exactly what he did. He just came out, got the takedown, immediately passed, and went for a submission, and nearly got it.
But the thing was, he locks up this Darce, and it was beautiful how he got to it, but he didn't finish it, and he held on to it for a substantial amount of time and really blew his arms out. And that was like what did him in, really. I mean, well, it's not just that though. I mean, Felder, definitely the better athlete, definitely had the better cardio. And I think the biggest thing is Felder showed up with a ground game, with a top pressure game, that he was willing to, be in the full guard and willing to just stay on top, and had confidence in his ground strikes, and just knew that if he would just be consistent with his elbows, he could break Oliveira and get him to crumble. And that's exactly what happened. And Paul Felder just picked up his 3rd straight knockout. And Can we rank this guy already?
Yeah, no. Well, that's the problem though with the lightweight division, is they're like 6 other dudes who are on streaks and being like, why is this dude not ranked? But
he's good though, man. He's
good.
Knocking people out.
He has improved consistently for a dude that came to MMA late, came to the UFC late. He's already coming up on his mid-30s. He is improving every single fight, it feels like.
Yeah. Never would I have ever guessed Felder would have came out and worked a top game on Charles Oliveira. Like,
I do think part of this is, though, and I hate to, like, trumpet X factors as the reason for people winning fights, but I think a big part of this too is that if it ended up being a battle of heart, it's Felder's fight every day.
Yeah, I mean, Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson after a tragic loss in his family. So, there's heart plays a lot. Heart is probably number 2 to the mind as far as important things for combat sports.
Yeah, and there have been a few fights now where Oliveira just seems like something goes wrong. He doesn't get quite the fight he wants. He gets hurt a little bit, and he's just like, I'm done.
He's just like unusually brittle for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, he's remember that weird like esophagus
injury
he had, and think there's always just some sort of weird frailty to him. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. He's a funky fighter. He's fun to watch. He's fun as hell when he's winning. And when he's losing, you're always like, what just happened there, man?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's an enigma.
So wrapped in a riddle. Before that, Yancy Medeiros beat Alex Oliveira. And like 2 days now, we've had these wins where you're just watching these fights and like, okay, that dude's dead. That dude is absolutely dead and this fight is over. And then they come back to get a win.
Yeah, I love shit like this. They stole the show. This was fight of the night. Like, I don't know if it's official fight of the night, but as far as I'm concerned, this was everything. I mean, it had the momentum swings, and it had knockdowns, and it had a busted nose, and it had elbows and like clinch work, and like it was such a fun fight, back and forth. Just both of these guys really showed up, and Yancy just had more heart, basically, and was able to absorb more damage. And I think that's just what it came down to. You know, Oliveira just kind of reached his breaking point where he just could not endure any more pain, kind of just backed up to the cage, covered up, and credit to Yancy. I mean, he acknowledged that was going on, and he just unleashed a furious flurry and you know, put away Oliveira. I mean, the fight could have probably been stopped a lot sooner than it was, but you know, whatever. As much damage as those guys were taking, you have to let it go until you absolutely know for sure. But
I gotta say though, I am totally shocked that in the battle of durability, Yancy Medeiros came out on top.
Yeah.
Because Medeiros has usually been a dude who, like, he's durable, but if you're durable too, he just loses. Like, he has the fight he had in round 1, where he just he gets lit up, and you're like, oh, you know, you get that Francisco Trinaldo fight where it's 3 rounds of like, yeah, Medeiros is still like, he's in this, he's still throwing, but he's losing constantly. And Oliveira, like, this is the first time we've seen any quit in him, really.
And I don't even know if it was quit. I can't even call it quit in him. It was just he got beat. Like
he broke his nose, and it's what happened to Roy McDonald. I mean, Roy McDonald loves blood as much as any human ever.
Yeah,
violence, but even he could not. Like, at some point, his body was just like, no, this is all I feel is pain right now. I cannot take another minute at all where it was.
Yeah, and that's, like you said, that's insane because he is one of the toughest guys that you'll ever see in the sport. I mean, he was a bull rider, for God's sake. Like, he rides bulls. Like, he is the epitome of toughness. And for Yancy to come out like that and string together 3 straight wins, 3 straight finishes, like, another guy, hey, can we get him ranked? You know, he just beat the number 15 guy, snapped a winning streak for Oliveira. Oliveira was a guy who looked like he was putting something together and possibly making a run towards the top. And here comes Yancy.
I thought this would be another name on Oliveira's resume, honestly. I really did. So it's a damn impressive win for Yancy Medeiros.
Yeah.
Before that, David Tamor got a win over Drakkar Klose. Not a fun fight, but made kind of entertaining by the fact that Drakkar Klose just footwork. So mad. And Herb Dean was really, like, willing to enable his anger.
Yeah, he was calling his own fight. Klose was. There was a point where he got poked in the eye, and he basically called timeout himself. Herb Dean goes, I didn't see it. But was like, you know what, whatever, timeout. And then he goes over to Tamor and is like, hey, I saw you poked him in the eye. It's like, no, you didn't, motherfucker. Like, what are you doing lying to the fighters out there, Herb? Like, get your shit together. I think he was having a rough night. But
yeah, I mean, maybe you know, was somebody paying Herb or something? Was he supposed to be the X factor in a couple fights out there tonight?
I think he might have had a little too much fun in Detroit last night and got a hold of something that wasn't what he thought it was. Maybe
Yeah,
took something, stayed up all night. I don't know.
Did he? Okay, he was the ref in the Alvarez Gagey fight too. I missed that.
Well, he might have sobered up by then. Allegedly.
But yeah, that call where he warned Tamer for timidity while Close was just standing and doing nothing. To that point, had barely done anything in the fight and was getting outpointed consistently. And then Dean pulling Tamer aside and warning him, and it's just like, come on. And of course,
you got to warn both of them at that point.
Yeah, and then of course Close goes on to just lose a consistent 30-27 decision, basically, because he doesn't know how to kickbox, and he fought a kickboxer in kickboxing range.
Yeah, it's man, it's not a good look. It was a really stale fight for both guys, but Tamer just.
I mean, Tamer won it the way I thought he would win it, which is just because Close is rock tough. He wants to be a wall and maul grinder. He's gonna try and close you down. You got to be elusive. You got to, just keep on your bike, throw your shots, get the win. Otherwise, you end up like Mark Diakese. Tamer won the fight I thought he'd win, but Close made it as unhappy a process as possible.
Yeah, and to Tamer's credit, he did an excellent job of maintaining range and not letting Close close the distance.
Yeah.
He really did a great job of that. But this fight, it's really forgettable, and it really did not do much for either guy's career outside of getting some cage time and getting a paycheck. Yeah,
I mean, if you're Tamer, it was this dude is fairly unknown and super tough. You've got the right style matchup to win this. You got to just win this fight, and he did. It was up to Close to make it something more, and he didn't.
Yeah, it was a slowest fight of the night for sure.
Yeah. Before that, Felice Herrig beat Courtney Casey, and debatable decision. Really kind of tough fight to call. Casey, I think. I need to look at the stat numbers. I'll do that in a minute here, but I thought Casey mostly outlanded Herrig, and neither of them did a huge amount of damage. Nobody dropped anyone. Herrig probably landed some of the cleaner shots. Her left hook was landing all fight. Yeah. But at least through the first 2 rounds, I thought that Casey's counter uppercut was landing with a lot more regularity. And I would have scored it for her, but I got no problem with Herrig winning it.
Yeah, I scored it for Herrig. And I think what the determining factor over the first 2 rounds, I gave the third to Casey, of course. But over the first 2, I gave both of them to Felice because, like you said, her left hook was landing. And what was happening more often than not was as they're standing in the pocket trading, it's Felice who is landing that left hook as the last strike of the entire exchange.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of people's eyes, and even my own, it seemed as if she won the better of that exchange because it was a really hard left hook, and it was the last strike that landed in the combination. So it seemed as if she was getting the better of the exchanges.
So yeah, by the punch the fight stats, Herrig was 22 of 68 and Casey 29 of 66 in round 1 on significant strikes, and Herrig 29 in round 2 to Casey at 31, so close to dead even. And then Herrig 25 to Casey's 31 in round 3. So, Casey's going to have a good argument for feeling like she got robbed in that fight, but it was just a close striking match. And there's good arguments that Herrig just landed the better strikes for most of the fight.
Yeah, I really don't like to bring up the term robbery when fights are this close. Like, you lost a hard fought, close fight. Sometimes you come up short. Oh, however, 4 straight wins for Felice Herrig.
Yep.
Let's not sleep on that.
No, she's in line to fight somebody like Tecia Torres, who is another fighter that's getting decent wins that doesn't have a huge groundswell of support. That's an actually like really hard top tier fight for her.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely down with that.
In fact, have they fought before? They may have fought before.
If they did, it might have been on like an Ultimate Fighter.
No, they fought in Invicta FC7. That's right. I remember that fight now. And it was mostly just a kickboxing fight where pointed her consistently for volume.
Okay.
I mean, it is time, I think, though, for Herrig to get like a serious step up of around the top 5. I mean, I think Casey was ranked like 8 or something. So at some point, you might as well just throw Herrig in. She's not a young fighter. She's not an inexperienced fighter. See if she can actually make a run.
Yeah. Casey was number 11. Herrig's number 9 coming in.
Well, anyway, even still. That brings us to another strawweight bout. Amanda Bobby Cooper, Angela Magana. Just a shit kicking.
Yeah, from start to finish.
Yeah. The like that was a complete bully beatdown fight. Like, you know, thematically and just that's exactly what that fight looked like. Is it looked like a bully beatdown episode where it's like, we've got this kid who thinks they're really tough on the street in the gym with a real pro fighter, and then you just watch them get like taken down and punched in the head for 10 minutes until they quit.
Man, I know so many people that wanted Magana to lose this, and I feel like Magana got so owned here. I mean, she even had the wardrobe malfunction where her boob popped out. So it's like, you know, it was just like a really bad night for her altogether. You know, just loss after loss, just not a good look. And it's, I don't want to say it, but it's almost as if, you know, karma showed up for UFC 218 for Angela Magana.
Well, I mean, for Angela Magana, if that's the case, karma's been showing up for her for a while now.
Well, they might be friends. I don't know. But Cooper,
it's 2011 since she won a fight, and most of those losses have not been kind.
No, and it's crazy because she talks a lot of shit. She talks.
You know, and somebody pointed out too, for all the shit she talks, she is out living in Puerto Rico, like, you know, doing things, you know, in the wake of the hurricane and stuff like that. You know, it's not like she's as bad a person in action as she is in personality. Really hard to like in personality.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people took a lot of joy in seeing ABC put a stamp on her.
Yeah, absolutely. Before that, Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, Sabah Homasi, and Herb Dean's first terrible screw-up of the night.
Yeah, this is when the weed actually hit Herb Dean, and he realized that he was too high for the shit.
He didn't actually wave off the fight. He was just like, no, I can't. No, I can't do this right now. I'm not ready.
I'm just too high. You guys just need to stop. I need a moment here. Oh man, what a fuck up. Not Herb Dean. I'm not saying Herb Dean's a fuck up. Just he made a mistake here.
It was
we all mess up at our jobs. You know, it's part of life. But I would much rather see him err in this kind of way than stopping a fight way too late or letting someone stay unconscious way too long. So these kind of mistakes do not ever really bother me.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to have refs err on the side, you know, refs screw up or make mistakes, you'd rather see them make mistakes out of caution than out of just, you know, bloodlust.
Incompetency, yeah. Or bloodlust. Shit. Kimball is gone. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. I you know, I feel bad for Sabah Homasi here because he was fighting a good fight. You know, he was eating the shots he was gonna eat because Abdulrazak Al-Hassan throws fire and doesn't know how to do anything other than march forward and throw fire. But Homasi was, you know, he was landing his own shots. He hurt Al-Hassan a couple of times. He got a couple takedowns. He was in the fight, in the brawls, in the moment, and he got wobbled a little. One of his legs went out, and he jumped on a double leg as soon as he hit the mat. And Herb Dean was like, "Nah, you look out." And to his credit, there are pictures you can go see of Homasi on that takedown he was looking for. And he's got like one leg sprayed out and both his arms like out to the sides, like around Al Hassan's body. And he does look like, if all you're seeing is Al Hassan's back, he does look like he's just out. But you can't see him.
That's the point of view that Herb Dean had. So, I mean, from that position, did he make the right call? Probably. But should he have maybe just sidestepped to the left just for a second to double check? Maybe. But if the dude was unconscious, that could be the difference in an unconscious man taking an unnecessary strike. So, like I said, I'm not butthurt over this.
Yeah. Do you think the UFC plays it back, rebooks it?
I mean, no one cares, so sure. Like, get them fights. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, keep them active.
Yeah, I'm sure both guys wouldn't mind taking the fight again.
Yeah, I mean, they were both doing really well, and it was, 50-50, really.
For that, Dominic Reyes, Jeremy Kimball, all credit to Jeremy Kimball. He had the right idea. He's like, I'm not going to go out and throw hands with this dude. He's way bigger than me. He hits way harder than me. I'll go for a takedown, only he wasn't the better wrestler or grappler, and he ended up on the bottom and got subbed at.
Yeah, it was a tough outing for Jeremy Kimball, who just kind of seems like he doesn't belong here. And it almost seems as if he's like one of the producers' like nephews or something, and it's just like a family favor. Like, he's really been doing this his whole life. And it sucks too, because Kimball's fun to watch. I like him, but I just don't think he's really cut out for the UFC.
He's got a janky kickboxing style that's like, it's actually kind of fast and accurate, which means that against low-level competition, he gets a lot of knockouts because, he's out there throwing all these snapping front kicks and these quick little uppercuts and stuff like that catch people. But at a high level against big athletes who hit twice as hard as he does when he's trading, he just doesn't have many options.
No, and it might be that his only option could be an alternate in the Bellator heavyweight tournament. Hate to say it. Oh no, actually, never mind. He actually won his last fight, didn't he?
Yeah, he's not probably getting cut after this. He'll be in here for another bout. They'll find another dude at the bottom of the light heavyweight division. They signed Saperbek Safarov. I know he's got a fight booked already now, but they got some dudes at the bottom of that light heavyweight division that he can scrap with.
And it's fun, and he's down to throw down. And I think he probably should have kept this one standing, though, because he did really great coming out the gate, super aggressive. Like, he landed that first right hand. Like, just keep that shit up. I think it's just
hard for him after that fight he had with, Marcos Rogerio de Lima to trust that. Like,
yeah. Well, de Lima hits fucking hard.
So does Reyes. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, so does everybody.
You watch the tape on Reyes.
Really. Which 205er doesn't hit hard?
And that's kind of Jeremy Kimball's whole problem, is that there are a few guys, and he can get those wins, and then, like, there's another 30 guys that populate the rest of that division, and they all hit really hard.
But good on Reyes, man.
His grappling looked tight.
Yeah, and he forgone the Dominator name in respect for Dominic Cruz and went with the Devastator.
Which is just such a goofy ass nickname.
It really, it's like extra cheese.
It's like the third-rate comic book villain's name. Like, the dude, not, you got all your first-rate Doctor Doom and all that, those, like, the big guys, the Joker and the Green Goblin and all that. And then somewhere in the back is the Devastator. He's just that filler dude that shows up every 20th issue when they've got, like, an Avengers thing where they've got 100 superheroes and 100 villains.
Poor Devastator. He's got to do something about that. That's the weakest part of his game.
And open the card, Justin Willis putting hands on Alan Crowder to open the card. Nice KO. Good to see for Willis, who, against Mulheron was seemed a little complacent to just take a win without putting himself in too much harm. And in this one, he hurt Crowder, and he finished him quick.
Yeah, his hands are scary. He's deceptively fast. He's accurate. I mean, he felt confident out there. I mean, he looked really good, and that's 6 straight wins for him. So hopefully the UFC will slow play him a little bit and not just feed him to the wolves, right away. Because, new young blood is something that the division definitely needs. So
yeah,
anytime a heavyweight's coming out looking to strike, I'm down.
They've been signing a ton of dudes lately. They're up to like nearly 50 heavyweights right now. So there are people at the bottom of that division for him to work on. He can fight Cyril Asker. There are fights out there for him like that.
Cyril Asker. Oh man, poor Cyril.
Hey, he got to win his last fight. Beat that Chinese dude.
Oh, he did win that one, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, he's always just getting knocked out though, brutally.
Well, I mean, you don't choose the heavyweight life. The heavyweight life chooses you.
I mean, you choose your diet, but yeah. Some of these guys are 205ers. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Jeremy Kimball should probably be at 185.
Or on his couch smoking that next bowl, and
yeah. Well, to be honest, Willis could probably make 205 also. While we're talking about it, he carries around a lot of body fat.
He does. I don't know. I mean, he's 6'3", so even under the body fat, like he's cutting weight to 265. So maybe he could get himself down to 240.
I don't know. Maybe he should just keep the weight on. Be yourself.
Maybe you just keep the weight.
Be yourself.
Like Lewis thing, be on like the treadmill eating ribs.
Hey, what is Derek Lewis doing?
He injured his back, but he's healed now. He's going to fight Marcin Tybura, which.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good test to see where each of them stands.
Yep. All right, back to the top. Yeah, I mean, now I got 2 title fights that I'm just like, I just want to see these fights as soon as possible. I want to see Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar. I want to see Francis Ngannou versus Stipe Miocic. Get these fights booked. Make it 3 if I can say I want to see Demetrius Johnson versus TJ Dillashaw.
Man, that fight is. I just don't know, man. It clogs up both divisions.
Whatever. Well, we're not gonna get you off on some depression spiral. This card was awesome, and I want to end the note on a high note. That was supposed to be a joke. Laugh, and then we were gonna ride off into the fucking sunset. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at These Anytime. You can find Eddie on Twitter at the Eddie Mercado. You can find both of us over at BloodyElbow.com in our various roles, doing our various shit. We will be back next week. I may not be back for next week. Actually, I got other stuff going on, but we'll be back next week for UFC Fresno.
Somebody will be back.
Somebody will be back. We'll have If I Did It, Heavy Hands, Knuckle Up, Care Don't Care, Vivisection, all that good stuff we do week in, week out. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a like. That's the thumbs up thing down there. That helps us a ton. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM. So you get all the latest Bloody Elbow shows, videos, news, analysis, all that stuff we do week in, week out. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.